Back live tonight and in focus. Trade Union Federation Saftu has been admitted to the National Economic Development and Labour Council. Saftu says its admission is a significant move because for once NEDLAC will have a union federation that is neither liberal or in cahoots with the governing ANC. For more on that, we are now joined by Zwelinzima Vavi, General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions. Good to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time. In 2019, when they gave you their reasons why you were not to be admitted at the time, they said you must be 2 years and you must have records for 2 years that have been audited and so on and so forth. You said, well, what they are forgetting is that 2 years is not 200 years. So we are now at a point where I suppose they have run out of reasons to block you out, would you say?
Well, you can't keep us out of an institution forever. When we meet all of the requirements, when we are a bona fide trade union federation, when we actually the home of industrialized part of the economy, the industrial proletariat, the most militant, consistent group of workers who are wearing the tightest shoe that makes them to be naturally be willing to want to make most of the sacrifices that are necessary to raise issues that are affecting the working class and the poorest of the poor. And yes, they tried. They had Saftu clauses that were designed to keep us out, such as the 2 years audited statements that they would not apply to themselves, such as the 2 years audited memberships that they will not apply to themselves. And 2 years have to come and is now behind us. We submitted every piece of information and we are now in. We are quite delighted to be inside NEDLAC, but we have no wrong illusions about what it can do and what it cannot do. The reality of the situation is that one, NEDLAC of course offers us an opportunity to influence government, to influence the employers, to get our voices heard inside the institution that is created through a legislation. Yeah. Secondly, however, we're quite aware that we live under a capitalist order. The ruling class in our society is the bosses that we'll be sitting down with to try and advance the interest of workers with and trying to push them in all manner of ways. And thirdly, NEDLAC is a corporatist structure that, if you're not careful, can actually blunt the militancy of the trade union movement, co-opt them, and make them the conveyor belt to explain the difficulties of that capitalist order to workers who are feeling the pinch on the ground and who are sitting right on the fire in terms of the impact of that system on the rest of the society. So we're going there quite aware of the dangers, and we want our voices heard. We want to unite with other federations that are inside so that we can speak in one voice. Yeah. And where it is not possible, and where we think that they are advancing positions that are not in the best interest of the industrialized workers, we will speak out as Saftu and say, one, here is the crisis emerging from the system of capitalism. Secondly, here is the crisis emerging from the mismanagement of the economy by the ANC, which is in alliance with COSATU.
And right there, you are not party to the current political arrangements, as you put it yourself. One looks at it and says, what are you really going to be able to effect as change? You were able, one would say, to pursue the social dialogue outside of NEDLAC quite successfully. In fact, you collaborated with even those unions that are within NEDLAC on a number of national shutdowns. So how different is this going to be?
I think it is going to help enhance that cooperation that is beginning to emerge. between Saftu, COSATU, FEDUSA on the ground. If you look at how we are coordinating the response to the public sector dispute as we speak, that gives us a real possibility that when we are together at NEDLAC, we can fight together and to ward off the attacks on the working class through the austerity programs of the government, but also to say it is not just the workers that are under attack from the ANC government. It is the communities that rely, 75 to 80% of the communities that rely on public services, on better schools that have infrastructure, laboratories, libraries, enough numbers of educators, security clerks. It is the public that demands better public healthcare system, better infrastructure, adequate numbers of nurses, doctors, and other healthcare workers. It is the public that require that police stations must be properly staffed, must have infrastructure, must have vans, and must have a ratio between the numbers of police that can adequately and appropriately serve a particular number of citizens of the country next to that police station, so that the current situation where people are told that there's only van that is currently in a working order have moved into the opposite, where your child is being raped or where your wife is under attack from the criminals during the load shedding.
Yeah. And finally then, is this body still serving its purpose for which it was envisaged? I suppose 2 decades ago, it was even before you were in Saftu, you were a part of it when you were still in COSATU, or has it reached its limits? For example, there are some who are bodies who are calling for a reconfiguration of the structure that talks about policy issues and trade and other related matters.
We are going in there, and one of the main issues we're going to be raising is that NEDLAC must be inclusive, in particular of the working class formations that are outside NEDLAC. We are part of something we call the cry of the excluded. By the way, we're going to be demonstrating outside the SAPC on Monday to demand that the president address the crisis of load shedding. And that during the SONA we're going to have more demonstrations. During the budget speech we'll have more demonstrations. There's a host of working class formations we work with that are excluded at NEDLAC. The only way that body can enjoy credibility is when all organs of people's power are included and participate in the structures in order to shape the direction, in particular of the economy of South Africa. That's our aim going in there.
Saftu Vavi, I appreciate your time. Let's leave you there. Thank you very much for coming on. That is Zwelinzima Vavi, the SA Federation of Trade Unions General Secretary.